As humans, we crave the next frontier, something to broaden our understanding of the universe and what might be out there past the stars. A place so unexplored and so mysterious that we are willing to shoot anything and everything we can into space to find out more about our world. And that includes the sheer amount of animals that we've launched into space, including the one time that we decided to send squids into the stratosphere. Hello! Welcome to Brain Spill, the laziest show on the internet. My name is Tank, and yes, today we're talking about the time that we decided to shoot a squid into space. And you're probably wondering why we decided to do this, but it's all in the name of science. So, in our long journey of firing the entire animal kingdom into space, we start with the first animals that were officially sent into space, which were fruit flies on the US V-2 rocket on the 20th of February 1947. This being successful in testing radiation, we would then escalate this to sending a monkey into space in 1949, a mouse in 1950, and eventually the Soviets would send a dog in the Soviet Sputnik 2 spacecraft. And yes, he was the goodest of boys. And yes, the list goes on. We have shot many animals into space, but it's all been for the purposes of testing various theories, various things, until we were in a position where we were able to potentially send a human being into space. Every single one of these experiments could very well be a video in itself, but out of all the different animals that have been sent to space, I decided to pick this one because it's not only really interesting, but out of any animal you could have thought of, why a squid? What purpose does that serve as? Well, I guess you'll find out pretty soon. So, today we're talking about this little fella. This is a Hawaiian bobtail squid, and he can use his little fins and tentacles to brush a load of sand over himself for camouflage. These squid bury themselves in sand or muddy areas near seagrass and beds during the day, even gluing sand grains to its body to form camouflage, and emerges at night to feed. The squid is about 1.4 inches in length, so it's very, very small. Just to paint the picture more, it's also commonly known as a dumpling squid, just to make this squid even more cuter than it already seems on first sight. Kicking its legs through the water to propel themselves forward, either that or they can do so via jet propulsion. And when I talk about jet propulsion, no, I'm not talking about rocket ships. What they do is they're able to store water up inside themselves and then release it all to push themselves through the water, which is pretty genius. In 2011, the Endeavour space shuttle would be launched and these squid were on board. But why? Why on earth would you send these into space? Well, there's a particular trait about these squid which was prime for testing. And that is not so much the squid themselves, but there is a particular bacteria that is associated with them that is ripe for research. This particular bacteria we're talking about is called Vibrio vacheri. These microbes colonize young squid soon after they hatch, and they set up home in their light organs. Each morning on a normal day, when a squid isn't being shot into space, they vent about 90% of this bioluminescent bacteria back into the seawater. The bacteria replenishes itself during the day when the squid is buried in the sand, then by the evening when it's time to feed, the squid has a new crop of bacteria in its light organs which it uses to help evade predators. Yes, these squid aren't actually born with this bacteria, it's just something they naturally get during their lifetime, and it acts almost like the friendly bacteria that's in our gut that helps us with our immune system and our digestion. So it's kind of a win-win. And you'd think, looking at these squid being very bright and colourful, that they would be very easy for predators to spot. However, if you've got to think about it from the perspective of the predator, they're swimming in the water and they decide to look down to see if they can see anything to eat. Most prey would normally cast a shadow based on them being there. However, these smart little fellas, they can use their bioluminescent bacteria to effectively stop any shadow being cast, so when it looks down on the seabed, it can just see other natural light sources and can't see this prey, meaning that the squid is normally kept out of harm's way. Also, I don't know why you'd want to eat this little guy anyway. I mean, he's so freaking cute, and I just want to put him in a box and keep him as a pet, but anything aside from that, I probably wouldn't want to eat him. So yeah, this biological bacterial weapon is absolutely brilliant at keeping the squid safe and out of harm's way, by matching the ambient light to keep it under cover. Almost like an invisibility cloak, which is awesome, and every time this squid uses the bacteria, it will grow some more back each day. So it's a cycle that keeps going on and on and on. In nature, this is normally known as a symbiotic relationship. Two beings come together to help each other out. On one instance, the squid feeds and feeds the bacteria in turn, and on the other, the bacteria can be used as camouflage to help the squid get out of tight situations. So it's a win-win, like I said. This is pretty cool, and scientists think it's cool too. So cool, in fact, that they're currently looking at this to see if they can reverse engineer this to help us with our own understanding of replicating this in technology going forward. If an animal can effectively cloak itself from predators, what's to stop us from trying to do the same thing? In this case, how could we use the same methods to cloak ourselves in some invisible action and alter the light waves to make us invisible to the human eye? This all sounds like some sort of futuristic sci-fi thing, but it's very much research and technology that is ongoing right now. Scientists are trying to crack this code, and these squid are going to help them along the way. And somehow, if we could just crack this, we could effectively use this in technology for anything, including applying it to planes or spacecraft, meaning that we could have truly invisible jets in the sky. And this is partly the reason why we shot Squid into space. Part of the study was to test how gravity and the conditions of space would affect the squid and the bacteria. Newly hatched squid who had not yet encountered the bacterial partners would be shot into orbit in tubes of seawater. 14 hours after launch, an astronaut would add the bacteria and give them 28 hours to colonize the squid. Then, the squid would be killed and fixed solid, and brought back to Earth for examinations. I don't know why they had to kill the squid, but it was all part of the necessary steps for the experiment, so science, I guess. And basically the outcome of the experiment was that no, there was no real difference in how this worked between the bacteria and the squid, if it was in space or not. So comparing this to a squid back on Earth, it made no real difference, meaning that the potential use for this technology in space isn't that much of a far-fetched idea. And I mean, what's going to stop people from applying this to things like space shuttles and planes? We could have invisible spy planes much sooner than you think. Or maybe we already do and we just don't know it. But in any event, this sounds much smarter than simply getting a bunch of the squid, strapping them to the side of a space rocket and shooting it into the stars. I think we can do a little bit better than that. When reading into this, a lot of the research and science papers about this study don't explicitly say that they're doing this so they can test camouflage and stuff like that, but it does say the following. This investigation used the Hawaiian bobtail squid and a luminescent bacterium to determine the effect of microgravity on beneficial microbes that typically associate with animal tissues. Researchers monitored the normal development timeline of the squid-bacteria relationship and the host immune response in order to understand gravity's role in microbe-induced animal development, and whether this might affect human health. The bacteria were able to colonize the host squid tissue under microgravity conditions. Only 3 animals were tested, not enough for a rigorous study, but the data illustrates the feasibility of using these animals in microgravity conditions. That's all pretty cool, but I just want to reread you that last line, which says the following. Data illustrates the feasibility of using these animals in microgravity conditions. Camouflaged planes, y'all. It's coming much sooner than you think. And all you need is a bunch of these cute little guys. If you liked the video, be sure to like and subscribe. If you want to be notified as soon as I upload my next video, be sure to hit the bell button. And if you've got any ideas for what topics you'd like me to discuss next, let me know down in the comments below. As always, sources used in the video will be in the description. Now, if you think about it, squid are pretty strange animals, and that's why it's so odd to see us shooting them into space. But they look so odd in fact, it does make you wonder, are squid even of this world? Are they aliens that have come down and crash landed on Earth? maybe we're doing them a favour by shooting them back into space, to send them home. It's kind of like E.T. or something like that. I'll see you guys in the next video. Fantastic.